Hurricane Helene tore through Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, unleashing catastrophic winds and relentless rain, leaving behind a trail of suffering. In the wake of the disaster, the Biden-Harris regime was quick to assert that the hurricane settles the debate on man-made climate change. But does it really? Or does the fact that Helene defied nature's laws and behaved like a finely calibrated weapon suggest that there's something deeper and more sinister lurking behind this narrative? Before we dive in, join the People's Voice Locals community if you haven't already, and sign up to become a member of the world's first ever cyber nation that truly believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of your dreams. Visit joson.com and click the Join Us button today. It's completely free. Hurricane Helene wasn't just another natural storm, it was engineered. How can we be so sure? It didn't behave the way any hurricane in history has ever behaved before. This region has seen many storms before, but no one alive can remember weather like this. How did Helene get so much power and so much rain? And why did Helene power up after it made landfall? Normally, when a hurricane hits land, it weakens. Here's why. 1. The moisture supplies dry up. Hurricanes feed on the warm waters of the ocean. Once they move over land, they lose their energy source and begin to weaken. 2. Friction increases. The rough surface of the land disrupts the storm's organized circulation, slowing its wind speeds. 3. Land has a cooling effect. Land is cooler than the ocean, cutting off the heat that sustains the storm's power. Under natural conditions, a hurricane like Helene would have quickly lost strength after making landfall. Instead, Helene defied nature's laws and gained in intensity, and wreaked havoc like no storm before it. So the question is, if it wasn't following nature's script, then what forces were at play behind this engineered storm? Our friend at Into Thin Air on X reports.
All right, my friends, no time to waste here. Did you know that the United States has multiple patents on how to steer and control hurricanes and tornadoes? Yes, this is very real and it's backed by sources, as well as our own NOAA website, which discusses weather manipulation and what steps you or I would have to take in order to do our own weather manipulation. My friends, this is no joke. Many people believe that weather manipulation was used for Hurricane Helene, then somehow coincidentally stalled over the rare lithium-producing towns of Western North Carolina, which is the exact location of the largest lithium deposit we have in the United States. Now, something to keep in mind while moving forward, ever since we left Afghanistan, we have lost the ability to mine lithium there, where most of it used to come from. Now we are stuck having to fill this insane demand we have for this lithium right here in the United States. Once again, the largest deposit being right over the towns that just got completely destroyed by this hurricane. Alright, so before I tie this all up with this lithium situation, this video you're looking at right now went super viral over the last few days. We have over 3 million views on this clip here, where we are talking about these weird anomalies that were taking place right before landfall of Hurricane Helene. There's a lot of controversy about what's going on here, but these things pointed directly to where we saw landfall. Not only that, but we saw some weird scalar looking beams in there, a lot of weird stuff that we were breaking down, and it's causing a lot of talk about this situation, which is the point here. We've already established that weather manipulation exists, but I want you to take a look at this website from 2007, my friends. That's 17 years ago. And it came out from the Telegraph. It says, "Scientists a step closer to steering hurricanes." Now, in this article, they explain how they are using technology in order to control, manipulate, and steer these types of storms, including tornadoes. So when you take things like this, and you also add these patents that have been out for decades, you begin to see a picture being painted of what is really going on. Now, this isn't to say that every bit of weather is manipulated and controlled. It means that they have the capability of doing this, and it's right in your face. Now, I can't say for sure that Hurricane Helene was controlled by this type of technology, but it certainly looked like it was, and it certainly did epic, record-breaking damage that we have not seen in any of our lifetimes. So this will come down to you making your own conclusions and taking the data and making your own educated decisions on what you're seeing. We are in a place in history where it's almost impossible to be able to trust our own media or government, and I don't need to go over explanations on why that is. So now that we have all these steps in place, think about the situation as a whole. This wild hurricane comes barreling towards Florida, and we suspected that once this thing got close to land, it would rapidly intensify, and that's exactly what it did. And in my opinion, the reason that happened is because once it got close enough to our NEXRAD radar towers, it was then able to be influenced, as I've shown in many videos. tornadoes. All right, now finally, I just want to conclude with this. 1 year ago, almost to the day, as you can see in this article, North Carolina lithium mine to reopen with $90 million Pentagon order to help increase U.S. production. My friends, if this is not screaming to you right now, I don't know what else can. Just take a look at how much lithium we've used year to year up to 2024, and then once again ask yourself, what are the chances that this flood takes place in the biggest spot in the United States that we can even mine this stuff? My friends, the information's there, it's been there, and if you don't go check it out now, it might not be there forever.
They're targeting this part of North Carolina for its rich deposits of hard rock lithium and pure quartz, essential resources for modern technology. News stories in recent years have been talking about this region being rich in lithium, also known as the new gold, and the very specific type of quartz, which is set to be the foundation of the tech that will rule the world. If you haven't been paying attention, lithium has become the critical component for batteries that store energy and power our electronics. The quartz from just one mine here is vital for industries worldwide, used in nuclear weapons, pharmaceuticals, and perhaps most importantly, chip making, which is essential for AI and advanced computing. This is more than just a land grab. It's about controlling the future of technology and power. Does any of this sound in any way natural to anyone? No, it's not natural, and it's not nature. It is engineered from beginning to end, covered up by the media, and serving the technocratic agenda of the global elite. As we speak, the global elite are raising their glasses, celebrating the success of their engineered Hurricane Helene, already dreaming of the wealth and power it will bring at the expense of ordinary people. But here's the truth. We're not going to let them get away with it. Their plans stop here. Today's sponsor is PillsForever.com. If you think Big Pharma have your best interests at heart, think again. Under Biden, the price of medicine in America has skyrocketed, and there are certain medicines Big Pharma don't want you to know about. That's why I've partnered with PillsForever.com. All of their FDA-approved medicines are the cheapest you'll find anywhere. More importantly, you can order medicines that Big Pharma don't want you to have, such as ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and fenbendazole. Speaking of fenbendazole, not only does it get rid of parasites that live inside your body, there have been studies that show fenbendazole can help with cancer. Listen to this testimony of Joe Tippins, a cancer survivor, thanks to fenbendazole.
2 years ago, Joe Tippins says he was told to go home, call hospice, and say his goodbyes. The doctors were unanimous. He was going to die of small cell lung cancer.
Once that kind of cancer goes that far afield, the odds of survival are less than 1%, and the median life expectancy is 3 months.
Tippins says he got a tip, not from a pharmacist, but a veterinarian. And in his desperation, he turned from people medicine to dog medicine. Specifically, fenbendazole.
My insurance company spent $1.2 million on me with traditional means before I switched to a $5 a week medicine that actually saved me.
Get 15% off using coupon code People's Voice at the checkout. Please click the link below this video or call 256-664-4170 to take advantage of this fantastic offer. Their goal with all of these operations is always the same. You will own nothing and be happy. They want your land, your resources, your freedom, and your political affiliation. It doesn't matter, blue or red, they want you dead. Private retired law enforcement officials with helicopters are being told to stop their rescue operations by officials. They're being told that if they don't shut down their operations and leave the victims stranded, they'll be arrested.
I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there, and he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested.
Games are being played with the emergency services, but the locals are catching on and beginning to push back. Take this post from X, where a relief worker with 10 years experience points out that something about this smells more off than normal, and they have never seen law enforcement turn down experienced civilian help in emergency situations. For those who quickly claim this hurricane was nothing new, it's worth considering that global climate geoengineering, like chemical cloud seeding, has been in play for over 70 years, with operations ramping up steadily over that time. And for those who dismiss this as a crazy conspiracy theory, what if I told you we have all the evidence needed to back up these claims? Educator and activist Peggy Hall has unearthed US government documents from over 50 years ago, showing that the government has admitted to manipulating weather events, including hurricanes, for its own benefit.
The government admits to manipulating hurricanes. Now, for you, my smart, savvy, supportive, sometimes snarky, healthy Americans, that is probably no news to you. You know that weather manipulation has been around for a long time. And the question people have is, Peggy, why in the world would the government want to do that? Why would the government want to manipulate the weather? Why would the government intentionally seek to harm us? Well, if you've been awake and aware and alert for the last 2.5 years, you know exactly what's going on. You know that the government wants to control us, not only the weather, it wants to control us. And it wants to create and instill a sense of fear and terror and dread, so that when people are uprooted, they are going to experience a hardship, not only emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, socially, economically.
To see this in action, look at the cleanup efforts following Hurricane Helene. The government is attempting to control the flow of donation money. There was a tweet that quickly disappeared, revealing why the elites are confiscating aid and managing these funds. They want to ensure that you remain dependent on their system. If people receive too many donations, they could rebuild independently and break free from their control.
This is a document in 1972. It's a response to an inquiry made by a senator, Senator Schweiker. And it says, this is in response to your request of September 22nd. So think about that. How many years ago is that? 1971, about 50 years ago, for certain background information on cloud seeding activities carried out in the United States under programs supported by federal agencies. And I'm going to show you a second document that is very, very compelling. But here, I wanted to direct you where he is saying, yes, indeed, we have had federal agencies involved in cloud seeding and on the types of chemicals used for their seeding and their effect on the environment. We also obtained data concerning the extent of cloud seeding conducted over Pennsylvania. All right, this is, 50 years ago, and I just want to show you that it's on the record. So here's what I want to direct your attention to. Okay, several federal agencies support weather modification programs, period. There, the government is on record stating that they modify the weather. It includes precipitation modification. Now, we don't know whether that means to reduce it or increase it. Fog and cloud modification, hail suppression, and lightning and hurricane modification. There you go. The name of my broadcast today is The Government Admits to Modifying and Manipulating and Controlling Hurricanes. And here you go. So I want to show you, here it is, lightning modification, hurricane modification. Now this is 50 years ago. Hurricane Betsy was an intense and destructive tropical cyclone that brought widespread damage to areas of Florida and the central United States Gulf Coast in September of 1965. Now look at this. The storm's erratic nature, meaning it did not follow what typical hurricanes had done before. So, and it also says it was the first tropical cyclone in the Atlantic basin to accrue at least $1 billion in damage in 1965. All right, that is nearly 60 years ago. And this is just a few years after they had started doing all of this hurricane manipulation.
All of which raises the question, why is the government modifying the weather? Using cloud seeding to gain an advantage over a foreign enemy is one thing, but modifying hurricanes, bomb cyclones, extreme temperatures, and forest fires inside the US is another thing altogether. It can all be traced back to the elite's war against humanity. In 1972, the Club of Rome published The Limits of Growth, advocating for extreme depopulation to save the planet from humanity. The book has since served as a guide for the global elite. Climate change is a key part of their depopulation agenda, with the elites using chemtrails, HAARP, and weather modification to harm humanity and push the world towards their techno-communist dystopia. Overpopulation lies at the heart of the climate change narrative, but it's a myth. Traditional farming methods and nutritious foods like grass-fed beef and organic salmon have sustained populations for centuries. It was only when elites like Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates entered the farming industry that we started facing supply chain issues, food production plant fires, and a manufactured food crisis. Most of the so-called climate change we're seeing around the world is contrived. Wildfires are being blamed on climate change, even though far-left arsonists have been caught starting them. Directed energy weapons utilizing microwave technology can start fires from above and target specific homes to burn them from within. This is another conspiracy theory that has become conspiracy fact. In 2019, the mainstream media admitted that lasers can now change the weather and make rain and lightning.
Lasers? Really? To change the weather?
By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Since this fateful news broadcast, people all over the world have reported witnessing strange strobe-like lightning, unlike anything they've seen before.
What the is that, dude? What? That's it.
What did these strange weather events have in common? They involved unnatural meteorological data, and they caused massive damage to communities, sparking political unrest. HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, can now create hurricanes, and they can control the direction with next-generation weather transmitters or NextRad. By building an electromagnetic charge and dispersing it underground as direct current VLF waves, the NextRad radar transmitters are able to trigger earthquakes. Remember the earthquake in Turkey earlier this year? Locals reported seeing strange strobe-like flashes that always happen in HAARP operations right before the devastating quake. Earthquakes and explosives can trigger tsunamis. These are the technologies that we know about. That only leaves volcanoes and tornadoes. Funded by Peter Thiel, Avtech Energy Corporation began work on developing a device to produce 140-foot tall tornadoes. Meanwhile, a former US intelligence official recently told State of the Nation that the US has already triggered a volcano. Climate change is part of the Club of Rome's blueprint for the depopulation agenda, and the global elite are using chemtrails, HAARP, and weather modification to destroy humanity and drive the world towards their techno-communist dystopia. Here at The People's Voice, we are determined to continue exposing the crimes of the elite, but we need your help. Subscribe to the channel on Rumble, tell your friends and family about us, and join the People's Voice Locals community for exclusive and uncensored content. We can't do it without you.